No, I mean, not that IQ is really much of a measure of anything, but both the Unabomber and Bill Gates had an IQ of 160. Well, had an IQ. I don't really like that phrasing. I mean, they both got an IQ score of 160, which is the maximum for the test, unless you take the advanced version of the test, which goes from, the 160 to sometimes the 200 mark. They have a 160 to 160 to 180, and then they have 160 to 200, depending upon which advanced version of the test it is. But anyways, the Unabomber, he was a good model prisoner, sure. I feel like he really could have revolutionized things in the prison, world, provided he wasn't, in isolation the whole time and like whatever, But like, I sort of feel like if they had rolled those dice, if they really both did roll those dice in that metaphorical sense, then I always wondered, what the world would be like if the Unabomber was the billionaire and Bill Gates was the prisoner. Because I think Bill Gates would have made a better prisoner. Bill Gates would make a really good prisoner. Hey, Bill Gates, if you're watching this, which you're not, but maybe you are, what do I know? There's a lot of time in this world. Bill Gates would make a good prisoner. He'd be the guy making those lighters. He'd be the guy. Here's a new way of making the lighter. Here's this, that. Whatever. He'd make prison life better for the people around him, I'm sure. And the Unabomber would probably do better as a billionaire than Bill Gates. So I always wondered if those two were flipped, and what the world would be like. That's my little funny thing. But here's the real. Here's something, not really, but I mean, here's something cool. All right. I always wondered if the Unabomber even did it. I thought maybe here's my little conspiracy theory. It only takes two people, so it's a little conspiracy theory. You know what I'm saying? So Bill, I mean, imagine that the Unabomber's brother actually was the Unabomber, and that he was just covering for him, because it makes more sense for his brother to do it than him. And not that I care, I wouldn't even want to expose that, even if I did have the evidence and could prove it or whatever, because like, at the end of the day, he served like life in prison for it, and his brother didn't, and you don't want both of them to serve life in prison for a crime that one of them committed. So yeah, I think he was the fall guy. I really do, because it doesn't make sense for him to be mailing bombs to people, but his brother makes more sense. His manifesto doesn't even make sense, and he's a really, in my opinion, this is just we're going into my opinion. He's a really smart guy. That's my opinion. I don't think he would be mailing bombs to people. Yeah. I think he would be living in the wilderness, having a nice time. Writing lawsuits, changing the world, taking the hobo route out of those options that we had talked about prior. Although I guess death is also the fourth option, but I mean, we all end up dead anyway, so it's not a real option. You end up either being a hobo, a billionaire, or a prisoner before you end up being dead. So, I mean, I guess really it's one of the three options when you roll those dice. But yeah, I mean, not you, I'm not saying you should, but that's my phrasing. I like to say you, when I'm talking about something and I'm explaining some, abstract idea, I'll say you. Some people say I, some people say if, But anyways, yeah, I guess this is the whole thing now. This is the end of it.